going to be left to their own devices, and sometimes, well, as we said, not really as a, it's not really towards their identity.
Sure.
The Hawks aren't probably going to be playing towards their mid jungle in regards to the champions they've locked in this time.
No, not necessarily. Of course, realistically, you're looking at this going, okay, well, Gnar, Gangplank will be kind of sitting on the side lane doing their thing, and it's basically like, probably bot lane, isn't it? That's where you got the action, it's where you've got the aggression, it's where you got the tools to go in. So I'm expecting, as I'm sure you are as well, like Swamp and Blank will be looking, how many times can we affect bot lane within the first 10 minutes of the game?
Yes, that's probably what I'm looking for. Of course, that's early game. LJL as a whole, we don't really like a lot of early game aggression unless your name is Detonation Focus Me. They are our early game team, and even now in this split, they have found less inroads in that area of the game as they did in spring. Feels like they're more of a mid-game focused team at this point. And speaking of that mid-game, this mid-game is going to be very, very messy. I'm thinking about suddenly a fight erupts and you have a cannon barrage coming down, you have a Fate's Call throwing someone into it. When a fight starts for either of these teams, it is likely to escalate and snowball very, very quickly. That's what I'm looking towards in mid-game, seeing who can pile on quickest and most effectively.
There are a lot of circles being put down at the same time from both teams, or at least like large geometric shapes. I just realized there's a lot of things that aren't circles, but
what isn't a circle in this game? You have
Seraphine Ultimate. It's not a circle.
Anything's a circle if you try hard enough. So that's actually no. Gnar Ultimate is actually just a circle.
Thank you.
Gnar Ultimate is actually a circle.
Yes, Chris.
It draws a giant circle on the ground. Rel Ultimate circle. Moon Ultimate
circle. Fate's Call.
It's got a circle indicator. It's a circle.
Chaos Storm is a circle.
Chaos Storm is a circle. That is okay. That one's a little bit different.
That's a line.
That's a hammer. Yeah. Victor E is a circle if then you take the circle and you drag it. I'm trying to think of
this. You could tell if you hadn't worked this out already that Nymera was in fact a physicist before he became a caster. And the point is, within certain realms of like perspective, anything could be anything.
Well, yeah, I mean, for a certain point, I like to learn from Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't know if anyone watched that series recently, but from a certain point of view, anything can be. Okay. See, the funny thing is, actually, the more correct thing is anything is a line if you try hard enough. It doesn't matter if it's a curve or anything; it's still a line. That's why I think it's just like
a line with corners in it.
It's a line. Well, I mean, technically, it can be if you have like the equations which make it like go positive when it hits the y-axis. You can do that.
Oh boy! Yeah. Thank you for that reminder.
It's the way you can get sharp edges in lines where you have like it goes positive when it hits the axis. Yeah. It's just net. It's net graphs. Yeah.
Thank you for that in-depth knowledge that I still don't know if I comprehend, but now I understand that I don't comprehend it.
If I had all of the fancy tools and I could draw on the screen, I'd show you what it means and like do a little like W.
What do the lines mean, Mason?
Yeah, so it looks like as you might have been able to tell, we are not into game yet, and we're talking
about
things which are not about League of Legends because it seems to be a bit of a delay right now. So we have some time to. Go on then.
What we figured out.
I was going to go put it back on track, but Sam has an angle.
I was actually going to say, actually,
what's our next port of call?
I would say, like, actually, we've got 360 degrees because everything's a circle, as we've just found out. But instead, why, Chris?
Oh my god.
Okay, take it away, Professor Nymera. Explain.
Well, as you can see, these are many circles which I like, and now the thing is they're not integrals, so they don't scare me just yet. What you will end up realizing is that when you end up getting towards higher and higher degrees of maths and of degrees, everything becomes an integral. Whenever you thought you didn't need to learn algebra, do for that.
You see, this is how you tie it into League of Legends. You talk about skill shots from river to high ground, and the weird geography and lines on that one. I think we all remember
geometry in League of Legends.
I think the one that really comes back to haunt me is that one where you saw the Jin W onto Kanna's Jace from down one Kieran goes where the
Deadly Flourish was last year.
Indeed, the Deadly Flourish catches Kanna, and at least on screen it seemed like it would miss, but obviously with the way League geometry works and lines are drawn from river to high ground, got caught out, and that was a game-winning play in a lot of ways. We are fighting onto the Rift.
Yeah, we are onto the Rift, and You know, as much as we've been talking about geometry and circles, you know, I also have myself a bit of a rock and metal music background.
Oh, of course.
And we love geometry there too, which is, of course, about very much circle pits, mosh pits. Circle pits are a subset of mosh pits.
I see, yeah.
And we don't really get them in esports. It'd be quite strange if people decided, like, being quite violent in the crowd. But the closest thing we do have to it is Twitch chat and social media. So if you are enjoying the show and coming to learn about LJL, or of course continuing your journey with us, of course we've got a lot of our own old faithfuls in the chat as well. Let us know how you're feeling about the show and what your favorite memories are of these teams too. Because just actually these teams, while they aren't the premier matchup in the LJL, I can think back to spring 2020 for AXIZ when they made playoffs the first time. They made that miracle run starting at 0-6, made it into playoffs. Hawks not really had the same level of miracle runs, but they actually are looking to, for the first time ever, live up to expectations, going 4-3 in the first round robin, far outstripping their spring performance in the first round robin, and looking to make themselves something to be recognized on the map of the LGL.
Absolutely. And for the Hawks, you said, we in particular, between myself, Namera, Lexi, all kind of said, look, actually with the way things are shaping up and the trajectory we saw from the Hawks, we're expecting this team to do a lot better in summer and be something of a dark horse for a decent playoffs run. And we've kind of seen that in summer. Like the 4-3, we've seen some good games, we've seen some weak games, but Blank right now is going to flash over.
He's flashing over. He was spotted on a ward. AXIZ should know this is coming. Volibear is level 3, the Exodia of level 3 ganking. Hawks have themselves the angle still. Swamp should be seen. They see him in the pro.
He's going to come around the other way, trying to play this one out. It's all about the angles and the lines you're taking this one around. See, geometry's everywhere, guys. And he will heroic charge away to a minion.
But thing is, this is very intelligent from AXIZ. They put down that early ward, know that potentially Blank had been looking to do something towards bot lane early, and now Swamp has the flash advantage. Of course, flash with Poppy so important. Now, the last time I saw a Hex Flash on jungle was actually self-made for Vitality in spring, because that was the last time which I ended up seeing that. It allows you some creative early pathing, so that means that you haven't wasted your flash for nothing. You now actually can get some more ingenious jumps over walls with that, but Blank already been thwarted at the first attempt.
You also realize that Hex Flash's indicator when you're charging it up is
it's a circle.
See, they're everywhere. The symbol of the League of Legends Illuminati is in fact a circle. It's not a triangle.
Wait until we see this happen for the second time again, and it's the cycle repeated once again. It's the circle of life.
I just knew it. All right.
And the ganks is all.
Well, I'm not hearing.
Marble and Rabbit. Oh, Asuka
doesn't get the turnaround, and Asuka now in danger. Remember, there is no Fate's Call right now. He has an explosive charge on his head. Gets chunked out before it does have a health pot to chunk through. But that was well played by Reiner to get behind the minion, and Asuka feeling a little bit frustrated by that one, I am sure.
So, interesting stuff to talk about the explosive charge. Of course, the level 3 now. At level 1, to make that gank work, I know it's a little bit going back to what's already happened in the game, but Marble didn't actually level up the explosive charge, so he didn't end up pushing the wave inadvertently. Just last hit. Of course, Tristana can't hold waves very easily once you have that skill leveled up. Of course, Hawks invested a lot. It seemed like this was a very a set play that they'd planned on the training field on their scrims and wanted to pull out on purpose. Didn't end up working this way. And now, not to bang on about this too early, but the Hawks, as we said, when they've typically been successful on the aggressive, it has been through mid-jungle, playing through bot this time. Not working out quite so easily, although, of course, Blank's still involved in that towards the bot side of the map. And AXIZ weathering the storm so far, even though they haven't found their own advantages through their power point of their bot lane in the early levels.
Absolutely, and the key point, I suspect, will be when we start seeing some of those level 6s come through and those really big engage tools are online for AXIZ, and I think that will be when we'll be keeping our eyes out for the really explosive moments. As it stands, it's been a relatively quiet early game outside of that attempted Hex Flash play, as we stated. Nothing else too much to write home about, but I guess for me, it's like, where would you want to be looking in terms of the next
this is what I just wanted to talk about right now, right? Because you can see what happened on screen. Sentry not hitting the minions, stacking it up. What that means is that the next wave is going to come in. There are going to be extra minions to the side of AXIZ, and Volibear has come down for this as well, but it's too late.
Is it going to be late? There's just nowhere to go. Flash away, but the explosive charge claims that means it's another rocket jump forward, and Asuka has got no minions, no way, but he will waddle away to safety. The sad mummy has no friend no longer.
This is so sad to watch. Actually, the last game which AXIZ played, this is one of the games which V3 played actually just the other day. One thing which I said was, you know, I look at them versus the teams that they're playing, and like you can see their ideas, but they're just not clinical enough. This is the difference between a bottom tier team and one of our contenders towards those playoffs. And you can see they've stacked the wave. They've called Volibear down. They want to play around bot, but the timing's not there. Hawks find an opening and they punish exceedingly aggressively. That lethal mindedness finally works out, and the Hawks playing around bot side again, not something that we've seen as much from them this split, works out for them so far.
If AXIZ win this, they could start tying up with some of the rest of the league. But as it stands, they went 2 wins at the beginning of the split and are now on a 5-game loss streak. That is not what they wanted to see. It's not what they wanted to play around. And this has been AXIZ's story for a lot of their time in the LJL. Some passable wins in the early stages of splits before kind of falling away from the pack.
So things changed in 2020 for the
They
LJL. So the LJL changed format. They ended up effectively franchising the league, where in 2020, where the teams which were involved would stay involved. Before that, we actually had a triple round robin. We had a double round robin for a little while. After that, for the next 2 years. But during the triple round robin era of before 2020, AXIZ always went 3 and 18. 3 and 18. 3 and 18. I was trying to remember what 21 with -3 is. Look, I've talked too much about circles. It's not.
It's to see 3's like triangle numbers. That's wrong.
3 points. I can't accept it.
Yeah, unless it's pi. That's a 3.14.
3.14159 something else.
That's pretty good. Is it an Apple or a BlackBerry version?
I like both versions. It's chicken.
Mega Man, take him.
Pretty low. But
the chicken run reference was not expected, but appreciated.
Yeah, but we have once again bot lane being the angle of attack.
But there's a cannon barrage, and they're going to try and turn this one. But that steadfast presence is so brutal, and it'll be another pair of kills. Oscar burns out, and they'll be able to get that one as well, as Swamp does get away to safety. But everything else falls away.
Oh, chickens come in, kills come out. The Hawks get 2 kills in the 2v2. Magnificent Poppy W to deny the dash. I think actually it might have even been 3 dashes all in all. I can't remember whether Volibear's Q actually at the very end of it counts as a mini dash, but I saw a lot of bumps against that golden Aegis steadfast presence from Blank. And the Hawks, they keep going bot and they keep getting away with it. AXIZ, they see the play coming, and you can... I feel really bad for AXIZ.
Yeah.
Because I can see them planning about this. They have Volibear here again. That Volibear is a wonderful early game champion to play around, but they just don't quite have the timing. They don't consider all the factors, and that is 1 dash stopped. 2, that's the double knockup from the ultimate, which was hit by Blank, levels up in the middle of that fight, and Hawks have just been better around bot lane. They have outplayed, doesn't matter. I mean, AXIZ, they're taking calculated risks. They're calculating the plays. They're just bad at maths.
Unfortunately so, and you can see there, the Thundering Smash was stopped. The Callista doesn't really get to hop very easily in Poppy W either. It's brutal. Just stands there and goes, well, this is a bit disgusting. And now being chased down, there's an attract repel on as well to make sure Sanctuary's having a difficult time. Knocked up by the Keeper's Verdict, trying to get towards his blast code so desperately. Flash forward, away from that Banshot. But now Blank is actually in a difficult position. Couldn't secure the kill to bird the flash.
He's got backup. This time he actually has backup. It's still going to be Sanctuary forced out of lane. And this allows you now to get bomb onto tower as Tristana. This is the one time Volibear wasn't bot side because they were taking Herald. Marble has the explosives charge. I think he's actually waiting for the wave to get under tower so he can actually wave clear both the tower and kill the wave with the explosion at the end of it, maximizing that value. Multiple plates. AXIZ losing out on the play yet again.
Play on towards this top. Kanata being chunked out, but I don't necessarily think he's in threat of kill quite yet. Big chunk though, and actually maybe I'll take that one back. Take him pretty low. Yellow Yoshi away from the Mega though, so I think that'll be it. Just a healthy trade in favor of the Gnar with the Mega Bar running out. I do, however, want to point out Swamp did get the Rift Herald while some of these plays were happening. On the other side, I'd like to talk about Marble.
Yes, we can do that.
Because Marble was a player Lexi and a lot of us were quite excited to see come up into the LJL proper. He was a superstar in Academy with that very lauded V3 Academy roster from the end of last year and had a quiet entry to the league. A lot to learn, was often not the best when things went a little bit away from them, as is often the case.
In the way we'd seen from a lot of Academy carries, think of course, Milan coming in for CGA, but we expected more from Marble, and yeah, I think he did have that quiet entry.
That said, we have seen improvement, and we are starting to see it in this game as well, where he's being played around, and thus far, yes, with the assistance of Reiner and Blank, is thus far delivering. He's now 2-0-1, 100% kill participation, a lot of gold to his name, and a position to carry if Swamp doesn't find a way to potentially punish them for over-shoving down here.
So there was a ward behind that wall, which spotted out Oscar, waiting with a flash, waiting with a Fate's Call from Ballista. And right up with the sweeper, of course, spots that Swamp through in that Tri-Brush tube.
Here we go again.
Once again. Yeah, want to see me kill bot lane? Want to see me do it again? They're trying to, again, head towards this bot side. Top lane is well and truly an island, but one of these is a gangplank and can influence bot lane. The other one is sadly a Gnar, can only teleport to the friend. He's already got that one on cooldown. For the first time this game, we even have a brief look in towards mid lane. It has really been about that 2v2. Mega Man now, of course, on the Seraphine, building up towards a Leandries, will be relevant in those team fights at some point. But I'm wondering now, with that Tristana being able to kill the first target into the fight so effectively, whether that Seraphine is even going to be of much value. We know that Mega Man played a lot of it last year. I'm just wondering if this is going to be a difficult game for him now.
Call it out as well. This time, Swamp, Sangchu, and Oscar all have ultimates. They didn't the last time we saw the fights. That means there is more tools to kind of play around the Poppy, more tools to get in and cause danger.
In this fight.
No top lane. The Flash Oscar misses the bandage toss. Gets the Dragon, though he's booted out. Blank taken very low. But what about the turnaround? The Fate's Call's coming through. The Cannon Barrage is down. But AXIZ will take the Dragon and get out with the Herald down towards the bot lane to get more plays.
And that is a huge win from that situation for AXIZ. Now, Kinatsu doesn't have an ult towards top side. Okay. That's just the end of a trade. It's a little bit of an oopsie, but whatever. Hawks go onto the Dragon, try and disengage. They don't manage to do that. They don't use the bust shot either to disengage, and Swamp gets to the steal. Everyone gets out alive. AXIZ, that is a heist they get away with.
They really, really do, and it got a little bit close. I thought we were going to get a few more fireworks, but Swamp gets in and gets a steal just before the Keeper's Verdict comes out. And actually, it's the, I'm not quite sure.
Seraphine gets punted out, and everyone else gets to stay around. I mean, of course, Ozka coming in this split as a rookie also had a difficult entry. A lot of our rookies from at least the Challenger Series have had difficult entries to the LJL. It takes them a little while to get themselves tempered, get themselves to the league. Hegeman just about stunned
so
out.
Low, needs to be afraid. Jets out alive just about my days. That was inches away. A single auto attack from death. Double left somewhere out there having sweats.
So AXIZ going to still at this point be fairly far behind in gold, that bot lane being the big pain point for them. But they managed to get away. 2 dragons. It is, and what rift is it? It is a rift of Ocean Rift.
Ocean Rift. There's flowers everywhere.
I was looking at the walls and I'm like, this isn't a Manta and Infernal. Those are the two which I know. And then of course no Hex Gates, and I was doing it by process of elimination. Ocean somehow.
Cloud, clearly. It's not, by the way. It really is an Ocean Rift. Don't listen to me. I'm lying.
Cloud Rift implies the existence of a Sephiroth Rift, and that's what I'm really scared of.
Do we get a Tifa Rift somewhere? Like, is that like just hits the gym all the time? They used to have a Zac Rift, but they removed it.
Everyone's an Italian politician.
I'm back. Okay, that was close to the wire, sir.
No one will quickly gloss over that one.
That's a Google search you don't want to do at work, people. All right, moving away. Now we are at a position now where we have 3,000 gold lead for the Hawks. 2 dragons are over towards AXIZ, and a potential here with some of the tools in play for AXIZ to start making some of those big game plays. But I do need to start to see them doing it within the next few minutes, or I think they're going to start hitting that point where damage gets a little bit scary, especially if this Tristana and Victor continue to kind of get free gold into their pockets.
So this is now the point where we start seeing, again, another test of fundamentals, and this is where typically your V3 and your AXIZ, your bottom teams of the LJL currently have started to fall apart. They had the tools to force play somewhere on the map, but you also have to split it at the same time. You are currently losing side lanes. Victor is going to be pushing in either matchup. Gangplank will be fine farming up and clearing waves in his own way. It feels like really Dasher is the champion which can get pressure across the map, and that has led to Hawks getting themselves lead on that bot lane. Even if AXIZ get this Herald and they get away with it, they have lost something across the map for the attempts. Hawks don't have that angle on the Herald. Looks like it's going down. Maybe they're looking just punish the re-entry towards this mid lane, which they do have Gravity Field. They do have the Poppy's ult. Look at this. They can choose whatever they want. They have complete control over this mid lane.
3-man knockaway, and that means that mid lane tower just disappears. What an ult by Blank there. Very well played from the Hawks, using those zoning tools.
Yeah, and you can tell that Hawks, they understand what they can do with this. And again, We said this was a test of fundamentals for AXIZ, and of course for Hawks as well. What do you get? Now you move into a different phase, where you have this side lane. You have your lane allocation and the way that you move across the map tested. Hawks push in that bot side. They get a wave pushing back towards them. They find themselves a way to get extra waves in their favor. They take mid lane turret, they take top lane turret, and while they lose that Herald, they get more in the trade. Hawks on this test come out ahead.
Indeed it is, and that's now all 3 out of turrets. That is now a vast gold lead at this 16-minute mark. 5,000 gold over that, nearly towards 6,000 gold mark, all things said and done. Is a mighty lead, and it's on to champions, as we said, that do scale particularly well. Of course, AXIZ, they're not out of it yet. They've all got some of those mythics coming through, but I kind of feel like they need to play for this Ocean Soul point here before the second items are completed, or those item discrepancies are going to become very difficult to overcome.
You can even see Marble early spike in going towards that collector second. They're really wanting to accelerate this game. No, it's not going to be that Lord Doms, which is more efficient once you complete the item. The build path for collector is actually very strong. However, this means that the next fight the Hawks have just before those 2 items hit, Hawks have a slightly bigger bump in power. But last time you chatted about these 2 teams at the Dragon, you were mentioning that there were ultimates available.
That's the plan to the curse that's happened. Into the encore as well. It's beautiful, but they don't quite have the damage to finish it off until quite now. It's a 2-for-1 as it stands. Seraphine picks up the gangplank at the end of it, but the health bars are very low. Yellow Yoshi with a Mega and a Mega Gnar available. Gonna try and get him into the wall. Pulls him back, and that means some more damage as the high note start flying. Bandage Star flashed away from Blank into the wall with a heroic charge, trying to get the kill. Will get the kill with the buster shot. Now down to half HP and into 3v3. No smite for AXIZ, though, means this should be a straight pickup for Blank, who knocks 2 away, secures it, and it leaves the Callista out to dry. It's slowed down to the flash, heroic charge, but it only knocks them straight back to the teams, and they'll get out alive.
And again, AXIZ find themselves the first part of their combo. It looks like it's going well for them. Hawks not really in a position to turn and fight. There was a big oopsie at the back end of that fight, because I'm going to talk about this in the replay, but watch what happens when that steadfast presence is available from Blank and Gnar still gets into the backline. Oscar, we've had a lot of awkward moments from this player so far, but he does find the initial pick. Of course, you can cleanse off a lot from that gangplank, but you don't get rid of that magic resist shred, and of course turning so much of that into true damage from the Amumu passive when you hit ultimate onto these various targets. I want you to watch what happens right now, though, because Blank doesn't actually end up pressing that W. I wonder if it was on cooldown. Yellow Yoshi just ends up timing out. I was wondering if it was an oopsie. It actually looks like it was just good timing from Yellow Yoshi, but maybe gets baited by that timing because there is no follow-up. Ends up dying for the attempt, and Blank does get that disengaged for ultimate finally after this point. It's not soul point for AXIZ, but the Hawks are not being clean. They're ahead in gold, but even then, these fights, I feel like these fights should be cleaner. And taking our time to clean up in aisle 5 or wherever else as we get ourselves into a pause, and we'll see what ends up happening in this one. We don't know whether I have no idea what's happening with this one, so we'll see what happens.
We'll find out. Of course, keep an eye on Discord. We do have our lovely translators in the backroom here in particular. Phenomenal for keeping.
I'm sure they'll be in Twitch chat as well. Now, I don't have any of these things open right now, so I'm going to have to rely on someone to tell
Chris out there will tell us, or perhaps Lara from across the way. She's right over there, by the way.
Hi, how's it going?
Waving, I don't know.
No, we don't need you right now. We
just waving at you. Just thought we'd say hello.
Just want to let you know that we appreciate you.
Exactly.
And appreciate everyone that's in chat as well.
Only most of you. Like, there's 1 or 2 of you. I'm not going to name names. Maybe not so sure about.
We have like game 1, super serious, Sangok, Rascal Jester, this time-honored matchup now, which is built up over time in the LJL, and particularly this year. We come into this match, pauses, circles, geometry, other things, which take our fancy away from the game, and we have ourselves a lot of time to go podcast mode.
I want to take this moment, actually, while we've got the time, to shout out Megaman in that last fight, actually, because that was a monstrous encore. It stretched practically from the mid lane Riverbush all the way past the Dragon Pit, because he hit so many people. And honestly, when that encore landed, I thought, that should be it, but they just couldn't quite lock down enough people, and then when your volley bear dies, you don't have the smite. It gets very difficult to contest.
Yes, but they actually get away with kills. They are extra golden pocket. When you're trading slightly up like that, when you're behind, that means an awful lot to you. And yes, you would have very much liked to get that dragon, get yourself onto that soul point, would have very much helped. When you have a more long-lasting team fight comp, when you are playing around Callista, getting consistent DPS rather than huge burst, you've got the Seraphine keeping you in the conversation too. That Ocean Soul, sorry, that Ocean Soul ends up, I'm choking just like the Hawks in that last fight. When you have these longer fight comps, that Ocean Soul obviously becomes a very big factor to fight over. So the Hawks denying that soul point obviously very much helps them. But this should be a game which Hawks are starting to close out at this point. When you have this early game lead, you expect them to be more clean about it. And this is one of the worries which I have about this team. They are currently, in our third place position. A win here gets them a solid buffer between them and the rest of the pack at this point. They would end up at least keeping themselves a game ahead of any of the teams which end up winning from that second pack at the end of this. But it's not clean, and they're not playing around that mid-jungle, which is what I was worried about. While they are playing around a different area of the map, it does feel like it's not as clean as when they play through Dasher and Blank.
Yeah, I think I'll give credit where it's due, though. The macro itself has been pretty good to get a hold of those towers early, to get that gold. It's just been some of these fights around the Dragons that have been a little bit risky, I guess, is the way to phrase it. And while we've seen some good disengages with that keeper's verdict, shout out to Blank for that. And Marble has got 4 of those 5 kills, got the assist on the other. That's good signs, but you're right. Some of the additional bits on top of that, some of the caveats, the additional notes, haven't been what they were looking for. And yeah, partly that is the comp they're against. There's some big wombo combo options make it difficult to play.
And Mega Man back on the Seraphine, you already shouted them out. We'll return back to that. Actually, he's done a lot of learning as a player, returning back to this champion. He didn't find much success on in his first split, actually being an impact in this game.
But I think there's a world, right, where you're right. Someone like a Sengok or a DFM from this position with this comp might be playing this cleaner. And especially when we're saying, look, Hawks, we can see the upward trajectory. We've still got some things we need to see improved here.
Particularly comparing to those tier teams, it's like, why isn't the Hawks at that level of a DFM or a Sengok?
With the players,
DFM are probably the best team at closing out leads in the entire region still. Now, whilst they did lose to Sengoku, they are still incredibly lethal when they're ahead. Sengoku, we've seen just how well they can pick apart an enemy team composition and say, you need to do this to win, we're not going to let you have that. That's actually probably one of their strengths, actually. The Hawks feels like they're a lot more constrained in how they are winning games. Again, they are in the lead right now, but they're in a lead versus one of our bottom teams. We expect them to be performing in this game, and currently, even though there are some slight worries, those worries mean more when we're holding them to a high standard now. We want them to be showing as a high level of skill set, which they are currently struggling a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's fair. The collector's completed. They've got this Tristana Marble, this superstar rookie 80 character spot that was coming in and having a good game, right? This is a game where you go, right, guy's got the lead, playing the Tristana, got lots of towers down, has played the role of this champion very well thus far. Got a Zeal item on the way third as well to continue snowballing that lead. Maybe something like a rapid fire cannon, maybe to.
That would be totally Zeit, man. There's so many items you can build, but that one would be particularly exciting to see. I only learned what that word means today.
What?
I forgot it again.
I know Zeitgeist is in Spirit of the Times, but
that's just not the right.
I didn't know this one, so clearly I'm become boomer.
That's really of words. That's not really Zeit.
Zeit.
Yeah,
I had Zeit.
Nah.
Okay.
Well, anyway, that's my neologism for the day. We're going back to a more eloquent form of talking.
That's great.
And if you've never heard that word, you've not heard us cast before.
No,
Sam makes some new
I
words
make all the time.
What it means is to make new words, and I'm not clever enough to know the actual. Oh my God.
I've got one for you. I've got a Quiggle.
That's me. We have another. So our producer, because
yes.
we discovered the reason for the pause now for the break. We had to go on a bit of a quest to find ourselves another circle, and we found instead the legendary sphere, which is infinite
multiple
circles. Infinite.
Yes.
Well, actually, one of the ways you can find out the integral of a sphere is actually putting multiple circular cylinders on top of each other to find out a. It's actually how you end up rendering a lot of objects in 3D graphics. You end up putting multiple cylinders on top of each other. It's one way to build them. It's not always the best,
but it's a way.
It is a way to do it. Yeah.
That's good to know. I don't know whether I actually got any of how that works, but I understand that that's a way of doing it.
So the thing is, though, computer programs don't actually. So ironically, they actually don't deal well with circles. They only do multiple lines stitched together.
Yeah, just so it's which
is why the eventual war between man and machine will happen. It's a battle between
who has circles and who doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. So actually, what you end up doing is you just put more and more lines into it, and that's what more polygons are, right? So to make yourself a more realistic circle.
Yes.
So you end up stacking a lot of them together. So you have a game like Final Fantasy XIV, which had like a vase, like a vase, like a flower vase, which had too many polygons in it because they wanted to make it too smooth, and it broke the game. It's just a vase, a background object.
Exactly, and then they just didn't do it for characters. It's like characters had less polygons in the vase. It was ridiculous.
I mean, it was a nice vase.
It was a nice vase, but they remade that game for a reason. Took it off the market, relaunched it, did quite well for itself. But League of Legends has a few polygons. It has some of them.
Well, that's a polygon. What about a Baron-gon?
That's certainly
That's what Axis are
attempted.
looking for. They're stacking up.
Yeah.
And actually, you know, I look at
gosh,
this.
here
You
we go.
need a good Poppy ult. Where is Poppy? They're not here. And those Ren stacks are starting to go up.
Oh, that's good. Flash from Dasher keeps himself alive, and now we got ourselves a fight. Enough about the random
What's one
extra
gonna do?
noises. Second Oscar going to that's a massive barrel. Huge ultimate though. Will get them out of range, but it's going to be Ozuka trying to stay alive as he falls instead. But the turnaround is just huge. They just can't stop that. Tristana, who is deleting them all. Demolition indeed. Swamp going to get charged on into a chilling smite. Claims the Bears' life. And a decent attempt at the turnaround is quickly snuffed out by the Hawks.
Pentagon,
oh, it's not done.
AXIZ gone. Gonna be a clean ace for the Hawks, taking no prisoners. And
not even a kill.
This was so close to being a big, huge team fight for AXIZ. They had their ultimates. They had their summons. Sangshu dies with ult, flash, heal available. Megaman, of course, at the back end of that was not really in a position to fight back anyway. But the big moment was... You see Yellow Yoshi finding the engage. And actually, Yellow Yoshi has been finding angles. But the combo didn't quite land with the encore. You can see what happens right after this. He's looking for it. But already, the barrels are starting to land. Look at this. And suddenly, it's going to be a jump out. It's a heroic charge onto the friendly neighborhood scuttle crab for the Hawks. And with great power comes great dashing potential. As you don't get that encore come through. The CC doesn't land. And when you have that Tristana being able to free fire back at you, you can't actually stand and fight. That early spike from the Hawks and that lead, which they've managed to garner, working out for them in this fight. Finally, takes a bit of a throw to them from AXIZ. The Hawks finally in much more solid control of this game.
Very much so. And of course, that Phantom, that's not rapid fire cannon, of course, completed for the Tristana because that was a bit silly. They've got a Void Staff in for Dasher. 3 items are there. They're going to keep chasing on. Swamp just disappears. There's nothing left. They're going to charge in for even more. They'll get a Fate's Call to keep the Amumu alive, but that is about it. The Curse of the Sad Mummy appears to be watching the Empire fall one more time. Just nothing left in the tank for AXIZ, it seems.
I think at that point it's more like a Curses of the Sad Mummy as he swears violently as he has to get pulled out of the fray from a very dangerous situation again. And while Sangshu has so often been the carrying factor for AXIZ, after that early lane on the bot side, dominance was established by the Hawks. Felt so difficult for this lane to really play around some stuff. And, you know, credit to AXIZ for making things a little difficult for the Hawks, even though they didn't make their lives easier in their own way. We're getting back to this point now where actually Hawks can go back to one of their strong points, which is shown during this game, being able to flow around the map, allocate their lanes correctly, take down towers, and suddenly 3,000 gold to the positive after that Baron went down. And, of course, they had the fight before that Baron went down. So, actually, overall, probably more like 4.5 to 5,000 gold off of the last series of plays. And you can see how much that has led to huge gains that they have. Looking to reset, get those items, and then find one more fight. Probably end up winning the game for the Hawks and solidifying themselves at 3rd place.
It just feels that AXIZ have yet to really find a true combo with all of them hitting their ultimates at once, which is what they were kind of drafting for. It's just not really worked out. And at this point, it feels too little. It feels too late. That is an eye-watering gold lead. I mean, just the item discrepancy, the scaling discrepancy, everything at the minute has gone well and truly against AXIZ, and it feels as though really what we're looking at is a slow, drawn-out death than any real true contest at this point of the game.
Next turret falls. All of the turrets outside of the base now for AXIZ, left in rubble. Hawks going to be looking to, once again, probably reset after this point. They've cleared through the enemy jungle. At least AXIZ managed to keep some vision alive and available. Not all teams managed to do that on the retreat. Of course, sweep is not quite there for the Hawks at this point. Next time they come up, though, we've got to imagine that AXIZ, even with that, will be struggling to find their own engages. And that is really the only way I can kind of see them getting back into this. I think when you go into those even 5v5s now, I just can't see you coming up with enough damage. You need to... The way about a team like RNG, very, very good at this.
Sure.
Rogue, in the LEC, showed some of this
Fair
too, actually. You know, I was watching this the other day. They pulled it off versus XL. Sadly, ended up losing the game, which they showed this off in. They're very good at guessing where you're going to go put your next ward, meeting you there and catching you out when you go to put it down. It's playing these little traps, trying to mind game and try and play around that vision. You can see, though, Hawks, they're using a buddy system. Blank is there, Reiner is there. Blank is so damn tanky at this point. Level 14, multiple tank items engaged at this point. Of course, has the ultimate to disengage should things come to a very dangerous situation. They've claimed territory. They're not going to be able to keep AXIZ out of the river, but they are going to be able to contest vision and stop AXIZ from going.
Yes, again, Ozga just can't make it happen. There's still a fade's call, but I just don't think it's going to matter. Swamp goes golden. It's a decent curse to South, but just not enough follow-up. The encore is in, but there's just no damage, and the turnaround damage is absolutely insane. Kinatsu is level 16, and those barrels are warheads indeed. The kiloton blasts delete the rest of the team. They'll hop while Dasher gets the triple. And there's nothing left to say. Swamp, the one remaining member, and he can say, get out of my swamp all you want. There is nothing to stop the oncoming onslaught of Farquaad and the minions.
It's all over now. Hawks going to move to 5 and 3. Keep themselves in that third place, and AXIZ staring up once again, as they so often have at the rest of the LJL table.
The trajectory is still on an upward trend. They're not quite in the rarefied heights of Sengoku and DFM yet, but they're certainly continuing to climb the mountain. It will be a decisive victory from them in under 30 minutes, as they just play around with their food for a few moments more.
Gonna finally hit that Nexus, shattering the Nexus crystal. That'll be the game done. Game 2 of